The year is 1998. The superhero cinematic landscape, as we know it today, a dominant, monolithic force of interconnected narratives and billion-dollar franchises, is merely a faint, speculative tremor. We are still a couple of years shy of the X-Men's slick arrival and the truly formative steps of Spider-Man's initial web-slinging. Yet, amidst this nascent environment, a dark, pulsing, profoundly cool anomaly dropped onto the screen, carving out its own bloody territory with a singular, ferocious style: Blade. This wasn't the brightly colored, wholesome caped crusader of yesteryear. No, this was a film that embraced the darkness, the grit, and the visceral thrill of its comic book origins while simultaneously elevating it with an aesthetic firmly rooted in the industrial goth, rave culture, and hyper-stylized action of the decade. Director Stephen Norrington, working from a script by the illustrious David S. Goyer, didn't just adapt a character, they engineered a mood, a permanent state of high-octane, low-light tension that redefined what a comic book movie could be. It was, in essence, the very first truly successful, modern Marvel cinematic venture, years before the MCU's architects had even sharpened their pencils. The film opens with an unforgettable, stomach-punching sequence. A naive, unsuspecting human, dragged to an illicit warehouse rave, finds himself in a blood-soaked hellscape. The lights are strobing, the music is a driving, relentless industrial bass line, and the rain of blood from the ceiling is not a metaphor, it is a literal, gruesome shower for the ecstatic vampires beneath. And then, he arrives. The man in the trenchcoat, the deus ex machina of darkness, silhouetted against the crimson chaos. This introduction is a masterclass in establishing tone, character, and world-building within minutes. It is loud, unapologetic, and irrevocably cool. It screams, you are not watching the Superman of your childhood, you are watching a new kind of hunter. At the heart of this storm stands Eric Brooks, played with an imposing, stoic intensity by Wesley Snipes. Snipes' contribution to the character of Blade, the Daywalker, cannot be overstated. He is the character, embodying the lethal skill, the simmering rage, and the profound, isolated melancholy that defines him. Blade is the ultimate outsider. He is a dhampir, a human-vampire hybrid, cursed with the thirst of the undead yet blessed with their strength and, crucially, immunity to their greatest weakness, sunlight. He is a creature of perpetual paradox, a bridge between two worlds, but belonging to neither. His quest is not one for glory or justice in the conventional sense. It is a deeply personal, almost existential vendetta. His mother was bitten and killed while giving birth to him, making his very existence a living monument to his trauma. His entire life is a reaction to this primal wound, channeled into a singular, brutal purpose, the complete and utter eradication of the vampire race. This isn't heroism, it's a pathological crusade, a magnificent form of self-therapy waged with katanas, silver stakes, and UV flashlights. Snipes ensures that Blade communicates more through movement and menace than dialogue. His martial arts background is utilized with breathtaking effect. The choreography is a sublime blend of Hong Kong-inspired wire work and grounded, visceral brutality. He doesn't just fight, he executes with a cold, almost surgical precision. The aesthetic, too, is key. The custom body armor, the tactical vest, the omnipresent sunglasses, and the long, flowing leather trench coat, a practical and powerful iconography that influenced action cinema for years to come. Blade is the epitome of the cool anti-hero of the late 90s, a figure of uncompromising purpose in a morally compromised world. No hero, particularly one so defined by his conflict, is complete without a compelling foil. In Blade, that role is filled by Deacon Frost, brilliantly portrayed by Stephen Dorff. Frost is the quintessential New School menace, a young, ambitious, fashionably predatory upstart who rejects the ancient, clandestine traditions of the pure-blood vampire aristocracy. The older, pure, vampires, the shadowy House of La Magra, seek peaceful coexistence with humanity, content to feed from the shadows. Frost, however, is a revolutionary. He sees humanity not as a carefully managed resource, but as cattle to be openly consumed and dominated. Frost's ambition is to summon the mythical blood god, La Magra, and achieve ultimate power, openly conquering the human world. This internal conflict within the vampire hierarchy, the old guard versus the new, volatile generation, lends a fascinating layer of complexity to the narrative. Frost isn't just a generic bad guy. He is a social critic of his own species, impatient with their secrecy and lusting for a more spectacular, public form of dominance. Dorff plays him with a sneering, arrogant charisma that makes him a perfect counterpart to Blade's silent, simmering fury. He is the loud, obnoxious rock star to Blade's quiet, lethal jazz musician. The film's mythology, largely adapted from the Marvel Comics, is surprisingly robust. We are introduced to the concept of familiar humans who willingly serve vampires for the promise of immortality or power, a chilling commentary on societal power structures and the human capacity for self-degradation. The rules of the vampire world are clearly and brutally established. Silver burns, garlic is an irritant, and UV light is absolute annihilation. This internal consistency elevates the action beyond mere spectacle. It provides satisfying, tactical limitations for the combat. Blade's solitary mission is complicated by the introduction of Dr. Karen Jensen, a hematologist who is attacked and bitten by one of Frost's minions. Rather than simply killing her, the cold logic of his crusade, Blade saves her, an act that underscores the faint sliver of humanity that still exists within him. Jensen becomes the unwilling audience surrogate, plunging from her sterile, scientific world into the chaotic, hidden reality of the undead. Her presence provides the narrative with a crucial intellectual counterbalance. She brings the tools of science to Blade's repertoire of brute force. Together, they form an uneasy alliance. She is focused on finding a biological cure for the virus that is both a curse and a power source, while Blade is relentlessly focused on the extinction of the species itself. Their dynamic is the film's beating human heart, a quiet, flickering flame of hope and connection in a world otherwise consumed by darkness and death. The relationship also serves a pivotal plot function. Jensen develops an EDTA-based serum, an anticoagulant, that proves to be a temporary solution to Blade's thirst, allowing him to delay his cravings and maintain his control. She also reverse engineers a hyper-destructive anticoagulant to use against the vampires, turning the very science of blood against them. This fusion of scientific investigation and supernatural warfare is one of the film's most enduringly interesting concepts. And then there is Whistler, Blade's gruff, grizzled mentor, armorer, and father figure. Whistler is the embodiment of world-weary wisdom and practical engineering. He is the moral compass and the constant reminder of Blade's humanity, even as he builds the silver-laced weaponry that defines the Daywalker's fight. Their bond is a poignant, non-verbal connection, a shared life in the shadows. Whistler's tragic fate in the final act, a sacrifice that fuels Blade's vengeance, is a crucial narrative device, raising the personal stakes to an unbearable pitch. The true, lasting power of Blade lies in its visual and auditory aesthetic. It is a film drenched in shadow, neon, and the harsh glow of industrial machinery. The production design utilizes abandoned factories, grimy nightclubs, and sterile laboratories, creating a dystopian urban underbelly that feels both utterly real and utterly fantastic. It's a look that pulls from The Matrix, but gives it a uniquely gothic, Hammer horror meets cyberpunk twist. The score and soundtrack are equally vital. Mark Isham's brooding, atmospheric compositions are perfectly balanced by a relentless soundtrack featuring heavy hitters from the electronic and industrial scene. The fusion of the dramatic orchestral score with the driving techno-goth tracks cemented the film's identity as a product of its time, a time when genre films were pushing the boundaries of what was considered mainstream. Crucially, Blade proved that a comic book film, especially one featuring a lesser-known character from the Marvel stable, could succeed as a hard R-rated action-horror hybrid. It didn't shy away from gore, profanity, or adult themes. This boldness opened the door for a host of subsequent genre-blending adaptations and paved the way for the eventual mainstream acceptance of darker, more mature superhero narratives. It was a successful experiment in edge, atmosphere, and attitude. The film's climax, an extended confrontation where Frost successfully completes the ritual and merges with the blood god La Magra, transforming into a swirling, vortex-like entity, is a spectacle of late 90s CGI and practical effects. The final duel is satisfyingly brutal, culminating in Blade injecting Frost with the EDTA-based anticoagulant, causing his body to swell and explode into a gruesome, satisfying mess. It is the cathartic release the entire narrative has been building towards.